Hello, chess fans. Welcome to another edition of ChessChat, a program designed to give you, the viewer, a good understanding of the fascinating world of chess. I am George Marajanian, chess program director of the Wachusett Chess Club at Fitchburg State University. This club meets every Wednesday evening from 7 to 11 in room C-159 in the McKay complex at the university. And with me today is our award-winning director, Darren Dame of Fitchburg. He's assisted in the control room by fellow resident and longtime Wachusett Chess Club member, Brian Bigelow. And sitting across from me is my trusty colleague, chess author, active tournament player, longtime Wachusett Chess Club webmaster, my trusty co-host, Dave Couture, Westminster. Hello,
George.
Dave.
Hi, how are you?
Very fine, Dave. Well, Dave, today's program is special because we're doing a program about a tournament that just ended a week ago in Westford, Massachusetts. What was it? What ended just a week ago?
The Mass Open.
The Mass Open.
To determine the Massachusetts champion.
It was the 88th Massachusetts Open, which you say it was the state championship, okay? And we had a surprising new winner.
Yes.
A real big surprise. Yeah. The winner of this year's Massachusetts Open State Championship was 19-year-old Ridvan Sakir of Turkey.
Yes.
Now, we actually have a photo. Our director, Darren Dame, has a photo that was done by Nicholas Sterling, who was one of the tournament directors at the Mass Open. There is Ridvan from Turkey. He's from Adana, Turkey. He started playing chess at the age of 7. He is going back to Turkey this month because he's enrolled as a student at the Medipol School of Medicine in Istanbul, Turkey.
But he's here as part of an English language
program. He came here as a part of an English language program that he did at Harvard. He did it at Harvard. They did it at Harvard Square. He was learning English, but his English is very good. And especially you've communicated with him via email. I've talked to him at the tournament, and I've dealt with him email. So he is our new champion. Now, Darren has some other photos that were taken at the tournament. Let us show actually another photo that was taken. Here is actually at the table. This is the top table. In the front is Ridvan on the right, playing the white pieces against 14-time Massachusetts state champion and also 1995 U.S. co-champions. He was the national champion.
Yes.
Ridvan on the right upset. He defeated 14-time Grandmaster Alexander Ivanov in this tournament. So, which was a big surprise, because Ivanov was the top-rated player in the tournament. Okay, let's go on to another photo taken at the tournament. And I believe this is Brett Kildall in the foreground. On the right is Brett Kildall playing the black pieces, I see. And Brett Kildall he also upset Grandmaster Alexander Ivanov in the first round of the tournament. And of course, Brett Kildall is the highest rated player at the Wachusett Chess Club. He lives in Worcester and comes every week to the club, and is he's our strongest player at the club. Okay, let's go to another photo taken at the tournament. Now in the foreground we have Ridvan Sakir on the left playing black pieces here against international master Denis Shmelov, who used to live in Pepperell. And they drew. This was actually Ridvan's only draw in the tournament. And this was the start of his role, his paving his way to winning the championship.
Now, has Shmelov been state champion before?
Yes, very good that you asked. Denis Shmelov was Massachusetts state champion in 2008. So he did it. Now, we have some other photos taken right from the tournament. Nicholas Sterling took photos, but also our longtime former member, Eduardo Valladares, who now lives in Framingham, took a lot of photos. Now, here's a photo of two club players. On the left is Gary Broussard, who is last year's co-champion. He tied with Roger Capallo, but Gary Broussard is he's playing black there. And then on the right is Ray. He's probably playing black because Ray Paulson, who was the 2017 club champion as well as the 2016 co-champion, is on the right. These are two of our strongest chess players from the Wachusett Chess Club. and they played in the under 2100 rating section of the Massachusetts Open. Now, what else do we have as far as photos? We have some interesting photos here. Okay, here are now two other club players.
Yep.
The fellow on the left, who's playing the black pieces, is a former Wachusett Chess Club champion.
Right.
From 2011, that's Robert King,
Yep.
known as Rob King, who lives in Framingham. And he is playing now, the fellow on the right is playing white, is Michael David, who's an active club player, comes every week from Groton. But they're playing in the Blitz tournament. Right. They played the Blitz tournament actually on the Sunday, the May 26th. So this is actually from the Blitz tournament. Now we have some other photos. Okay, now this is a photo of another club player on the right in the foreground. That's Roland Booker of Fitchburg. He was one of the. There were 5 club players who were actually playing in the main event. Yep. That was Roland in the foreground with the glasses. And this is played, by the way, at the Westford Regency Inn and Conference Center in Westford. This is their ballroom. Now let's go to another photo that was taken. Now this is a photo of the last round. Now as you see, there's some little creature, there's some little human standing there.
Guy, yeah.
There was that guy. Well, that's me. Yeah. That's me standing there with the cane, watching. I'm watching actually the game on top board, which is actually Dennis Schmeloff on the right, who's playing white there, yes, and he's playing World Chess Federation Master Nathan Solon, who, by the way, who's the 2018 Massachusetts State co-champion. Yep. That was the #1. That was top board because Schmeloff was tied for the lead with Ridvan Sakir, who's actually in the foreground with the black pieces, playing the 2017 state champion Lawyer Times. Yep. So this was an exciting finish. Right. So both Schmeloff in the background and Ridvan in the foreground on the left were tied going. Yep. Yeah, they were going shooting for first. Ridvan won his game against Lawyer Times on board 2, but Schmeloff lost to Nathan Solon, and as a result, Solon came in clear second with 5 points. Again, Ridvan scored 5.5 points out of 6. His only draw was against Schmeloff. Yep. But Solon came in with 5 points, and Schmeloff ended it with clear third with 4.5 points. Now, we're going to show another photo, I hope.
Right, one more.
One more. And the reason we're going to show this as our last photo is because this is Ridvan Sakir on the right, white pieces, playing National Master Libardo Rueda. And this is in round. This is round 4. This is round 4. Okay. And we're going to present this game to our viewers because this is one of the most interesting, exciting games in the tournament, which paved the way for Ridvan Sakir to become Massachusetts State champion. So, Ridvan, as we see here, had white. What did he open as white in his game against Libardo Rueda?
E4.
So he plays E4, a very good opening move. Okay, we see it now being graphically shown on our board here. And in response to that, Libardo Rueda responded with D5. Right. Okay. Now what is this? This has to have a name.
This is the Scandinavian or the center counter.
Right. Known worldwide as the Scandinavian, but you'll find a lot of old chess books, especially in English, that refer to this as the center counter defense. Okay.
And it's not very commonly played.
No.
I play it, but not
you do. You
play
it, right?
So his second move is he takes the pawn.
So the E pawn takes on D5. He takes D5. Yeah. So in response to that, Libardo Rueda captures the pawn with the queen. Queen takes D5 is his second move. Yeah. Okay.
That's the most common second move. Ridvan's third move is knight to C3, attacking the queen.
Okay, so the queen now has to move.
Right.
Now there's several moves here. Right. The most common move, if you show it on the board, is Queen A5. Right. I think that's played more frequently than any other move.
That's what I play.
Okay. And the second most commonly played move, as you pointed out to me, was playing the queen back to D6. It seems to be more in vogue nowadays.
Yeah.
Although possible was play to bring queen back to d8.
That's what was done in
Yes, yes.
ancient times.
Ancient times they brought it all the way there. But here it is, queen d6 is what Rueda played on move 3. Okay, now it's fourth move. What is
Ridvan plays d4 in his fourth move.
Okay, might as well put another pawn in the center when you have the chance. So in response to that, Rueda starts developing pieces here.
Right.
Knight on g8 goes to f6. Knight f6 is his move. Okay, we see that out. Now, what does Ridvan do now?
Plays 5 knight f3.
Okay, he's developing.
Right.
Again, in the opening, it's important to develop those pieces.
Develop the pieces,
as
control
quickly,
the center. Yeah.
as quickly as possible. Now, here's where, on move 5 for Leonardo, he plays c6. Now, why would he play c6? Well, I think the reason c6 is played is to stop any harassment.
Probably kick the knight out,
kick the knight, and then the queen would be forced to move again.
Right.
All right, so c6 stops that. He could have played a6 and done the same thing.
Sure,
that's a playable move.
Yep.
Okay, so what did now Ridvan do in response to c6?
He plays g3.
Okay.
To fianchetto the bishop.
Okay, so g3 was played by him, and now in response to g3, we have actually Leonardo playing the pin. Bishop g4, pinning the knight.
Yep.
The knight is now pinned. Okay, we see g3 now being played on our board there, on our TV screen. But there is a pin now coming with that bishop c8, immediately moves to g4, and we see a pin. Okay, what does Ridvan do now?
Move 7, he plays bishop to g2.
Okay, because that was his plan. By playing g3, naturally, it's the follow-up is the fianchetto. Okay, now, what does Leonardo do now? Well, now that the bishop is out, the light square bishop, he now can play the pawn to e6.
Sure. Yeah.
e6. Plays it up. Okay, it is now Ridvan's
eighth move.
Eighth move.
He castles.
Okay, he can now castle. Black cannot castle yet, but Black now plays a move which prepares castling by playing the bishop to the only square it has, the dot square bishop, bishop e7. So he develops the bishop to e7. That was his eighth move. Okay, now what does Ridvan do?
Ridvan's ninth move is h3.
Oh, he's putting the question to the bishop.
Putting the question to the bishop. He's either got to move it away or exchange for the knight.
All right, so he decides to retreat.
Yeah.
Not to exchange, but he brings it back to h5. Bishop h5 is Leonardo's ninth move. Okay. Now what do we see played by?
Ridvan's 10th move we thought was a little mysterious. I don't think we ever determined what the purpose of a3 was.
Well, it's very possible there was a threat of bringing the bishop to f4, attack the queen, and then the queen probably could go to b4. You had mentioned there was a possibility because the pawn on b2 would have been unprotected.
Right.
So this actually stops the queen from moving to that square. Yep. That seems to be the plausible answer to that. All right, so after a3, what Leonardo did was just castle.
Yep.
He now can castle. All right. Black castle, it's white's now 11th move.
Plays bishop to f4, develops the bishop, and attacks the queen at the same time.
So the queen has to move.
Right.
And the queen really, actually, well, there are two squares it can go to, but there's only one. He chooses the better of the two.
Right.
He plays the queen back to d8, leaving this square d7 available for a knight to develop that square. All right, so queen d8 was Leonardo's 11th move. Now what does Ridvan do?
Ridvan plays 12 g4, again attacking the bishop.
And Black's next move is forced. To save the bishop, he must retreat it.
He's only got one square.
So he has to play the bishop to g6. Bishop g6 is Leonardo's 12th move. Okay, so now what does Ridvan do now?
Plays 13 knight e5, attacking that bishop again.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to eliminate that bishop.
Determined to get rid of that
bishop cannot save itself.
Right.
Okay. All right, so after knight e5 by Ridvan, well, Leonardo plays his knight on b8 to d7. Knight bd7 is his move. Okay. What does Ridvan do?
His 14th move is to take the bishop on g6.
Okay, so knight takes g6. The bishop is gone. we have to recapture, and what is the proper way to recapture that bishop, that knight on g6?
Towards
the center.
Unless there's a good reason to do otherwise.
Right. No, well, again, you wouldn't want to take with the f pawn because you would give yourself an isolated. So it's a rule. It's good to always on recaptures to capture towards the center.
Right.
So the h pawn takes the knight on g6. H takes g6 is Lebardo's move. What does Ridvan do now?
Ridvan plays queen e2, finishing his development, so now his rooks are connected.
Okay, that's move 15 for Ridvan.
Yeah.
And now Lebardo plays the knight on d7, he redeploys it to b6, the b6 square. Knight b6 is his move. Okay, we see it now being played on the viewer's television screen.
So move 16, Ridvan plays rook a to d1.
Okay.
Supporting that pawn, perhaps thinking about pushing it at some point.
Okay. All right. So with the rook on d1, well now Lebardo plays this knight on f6. Could have actually either knight could go to d5, but that's where he's going. The knight on f6 goes to d5, but he has a threat. The knight on d5 is now attacking this undefended bishop on f4. So what does Ridvan do in response to that?
He actually captures it.
He captures, he takes
d5.
Knight takes d5 is his move. Now, there are different ways to recapture. Lebardo could have taken with either one of these pawns, the e pawn or the c pawn on c6, or even the knight, attacking the bishop again, but he chose to take with the c pawn. C takes the knight on d5, which actually the c file is semi-open. It's not completely open, but he prefers to have this file, a semi-open file.
Keeps two central pawns.
Right, he does. Okay, so he has a wall here. He has a nice little wall. So what does now Ridvan do now?
Move. What is this? 18 plays c3.
Now he has built a wall himself here. So this is a solid wall that White has. We're playing c3. Lebardo now plays for his 18th move, knight to c4. He goes into c4. He's attacking the pawn on b2, but of course that is defended by the queen on e2. So, well, he's redeployed it, putting pressure on the pawn. Keeping the queen on, keeping on that file to protect it. All right. So what does Ridvan do in response to knight c4?
So he plays bishop to c1.
Now there has to be what's the plan? There must be a plan.
A couple of things. Well, first of all, it frees up this square so he can push.
That must be the plan.
But also, he could now do this. And this pawn is guarded.
That's
so
true.
He could kick the knight.
That's right. So that would be a threat. To play the bishop back. But the main thing is to vacate this f4 square for the pawn to advance, but also threaten to advance the b pawn,
kick the knight out.
Kick the knight and defend that pawn on a3. All right. So with the bishop on c1, Lebardo now plays his rook on a8 to c8. Rook goes over to the c file. Rook c8 is his move. Okay. So what does Ridvan now do?
As we said, now the square is available. He pushes the f-pawn, starting an attack. So he plays f4.
f4. Okay. Well, Lebardo now plays his rook on f8 over to e8. Okay.
Centralizing the rook.
Okay. Because the rook has no future on f8. It's here defensively, but there's no threat here that we see here on the king's side yet. All right, so with the rook on e8, what does Ridvan now do on move 21?
Move 21, he plays rook d3, which we refer to as a rook lift. Lift the rook off the back rank, and now it can go sideways.
So that's the term they use.
A rook lift.
They refer to as a rook lift. So you bring it from the back rank, or that first rank of white, bring it up, and then be able to slide it over. Okay, a rook lift. Okay, these are good, interesting terms, because chess is full of terms. There's all kinds of terms.
Like all endeavors.
All endeavors have terms. There's jargon. There's chess jargon. Okay, so after rook d3, the rook lift, Lebardo plays the pawn on a7 to a5. So his play, remember, he has no play kingside. He has to try to seek play queenside, but this is hard.
Might be a mistake.
Might be a mistake because right now, how does he create counterplay on the queen side.
Yeah.
Right? It seems devoid of any play here for black.
Right.
All right, but he played a5. What does Ridvan now do? Move 22.
Move 22, he continues his attack with h4.
Okay. All right.
And as you said to me earlier, that this is kind of a textbook example of how to conduct a king-side attack.
A king-side attack. Now, a lot of players I know, you know, would never do this. They would never attack king-side on the side that they've castled their king. They would never start pushing pawns in front of their castled king. Because
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous. Yep. There is an element of danger when you advance pawns in front of your castle king.
Right.
You castle your king to put it in safety.
Right.
But once you stop moving pawns in front of it, you're actually making it less safe.
Right. Right.
So, theoretically.
Yep.
Okay. So after h4, what Lombardo did was play the knight on c4 back to d6. So evidently he's panicking. Maybe he's panicking and realized he is needed over here on the king side.
Exactly.
He sees that there's action now being employed by Ridvan on the king side. So he plays the rook. Lombardo plays the knight back to d6. Okay. So what does Ridvan do now? Move 23.
Move 23. He plays rook h3. So just as we said, the rook lifts up here,
and
so it can slide over to help in the attack.
Oh wow! Now he's okay. So he's on the h file already. Okay. All right. So. Lombardo actually, there's nothing he can do on this king side, so he's trying to seek play on the queen side by playing the pawn to b5.
Yeah.
So he plays that move. All right, he's trying to maybe to attack here with the pawns and gain entry. If you can open up this c file and eventually maybe double up with queen and rook or queen, two rooks and queen on the c file, but that's not going to be easy.
Right.
So after b5, what does Ridvan do?
Ridvan continues his attack with h5.
Okay. Ooh, and this is dangerous. I don't think Lombardo can allow this pawn on h5 to take this pawn here, which would really open up this position. So he takes the pawn.
He takes, right.
Lombardo now takes his g pawn, takes on h5. G takes h5 is his move. Okay. So what does Ridvan do now?
Ridvan takes back with the rook.
Okay. All right, so this is dangerous now. Lombardo now realizes he's got to kick that rook out of there. This is a very dangerously positioned rook.
Right.
And he also wants to get ready for defense here. He has to go into a defensive mode. He plays the pawn to g6, attacks the rook, and now that rook's not going to stay there because that rook doesn't want to sacrifice itself. So where does it go?
Rook to h3 on move 26.
So back where it came from. Yep. Okay. So this gives actually Lombardo the chance to play the bishop to f6 so he can actually control this h8 square, but also get into a defensive position here with the bishop on f6. Okay, so Ridvan. What does Ridvan now do?
Plays queen d3.
Okay. Queen d3. That was his 27th move. Okay. Well, Lombardo continues his queenside activity by advancing the pawn to b4. Well, wait a minute. Now look at this. Well, he's got a double attack on the pawn on c3, but of course it's defended. It's doubly attacked, but it's also doubly defended.
Right.
All right. So there's still no big threat, unless, of course, he can bring his queen over to the file and put more pressure on that pawn on c3. And really,
I think he's trying to open things up.
He's trying to open up the c file. That's the question. It's no doubt that he wants to just completely open up that file for activity. All right. So after b4, which Lombardo played, what did Ridvan do?
Ridvan plays a takes b4.
Okay, so he took the b pawn, a takes b4, and Lombardo responded with his pawn, a pawn, taking on b4. A takes b4, he does. And he still has the attack, but of course it's adequately defended right now, the c pawn. Okay, what does Ridvan now do on his 29th move?
Now he plays f5, continuing the attack.
Ooh, and now he has a double attack because he has both the queen and the pawn on f5 attacking this pawn on g6, which is only defended once.
Right.
So he cannot allow, Lombardo cannot allow that pawn on g6 to be taken. So what he does is he takes the pawn actually with one of the pawns here.
With the G pawn.
He takes it with the G pawn, right. He takes it with the G pawn. G takes F5.
Probably a bit of a mistake. If he had taken the other way, he wouldn't have opened this up.
Actually, so better was to take with the E pawn instead of, okay, so but he took with the G pawn.
Because Ridvan also plays G takes F5, and now you've got this open file in front of the king.
So we can see that taking with the E pawn was better.
Yeah.
All right, in response to that, Lombardo, with the knight on d6, captures the pawn on f5. Knight takes f5 is his move. That was move 30.
Yeah.
Again, we should tell our viewers that this is probably one of the longest games we've ever presented.
Yeah.
But this is one of the most, critical games in the tournament. Yeah. All right, so after knight takes f5, what does Ridvan do?
So it's a sacrifice. He's going to give up the rook for the knight. Rook takes f5.
Aha! Wow.
To really open up the king.
Wow. So he's won the knight, but he's offering the exchange, the sacrifice of the exchange, rook for knight.
The rook is more valuable.
Because the rook is more valuable than knight. What Lombardo does is he take the
takes it. Yeah.
He takes it. E pawn takes f5. Okay, that's gone. Rook is gone. He accepts the sacrifice.
Right.
Okay, so what does Ridvan do?
Now that knight was covering this square, the knight's gone, so now he can play rook to g3, check.
Rook g3 check, and he cannot run over here. He has to block.
Yep.
He has to block the check. So he blocks with the bishop g7. Okay, now what does Ridvan do in response?
He continues the attack by playing bishop h6.
Ooh.
This bishop is
double attack on the bishop. Well, this is looking bleak for black. Okay, so now...
Now we should point out that this is the point where black actually had one saving move.
Yeah.
He could have played queen h4.
I see, and allowed... Okay, yes. Queen, we can point out that queen h4 was
the only way to save this.
Try to save it. But what he did instead, he came with his rook down to e1 and checked white's king. All right, so what did Ridvan do in response to that?
Plays king f2.
And he's now attacking the rook, the undefended rook on e1. So actually, with the king on f2. Now Lombardo comes too late. He plays the queen to h4 now. If he had done this previously, he would have been better. I mean, still would be tough. But this is certainly better. Not good now. All right, now what does Ridvan do now?
He plays bishop to g4, attacking the queen.
Okay.
So now the queen's attacked.
The queen's attacked. Okay. So so the queen is now under attack. So on bishop. So he comes down, and he goes down to h2, pins the bishop. Because the bishop is not going to move anyways.
Right.
All right. But what does Ridvan do?
Takes the rook on e1.
King now has just won the rook, okay, because he sacrificed the exchange, but he's got a piece here. Okay, so after king takes the rook, Lombardo comes up with rook c6, hoping to bring his rook over to e6 with a check. Okay, what does Ridvan do now?
He plays king f2.
So he goes back.
Get it off of there.
So he goes back actually and protects the rook because it's protected by the queen.
The rook. He protects the bishop.
Queen, right? So he's protecting both pieces here.
He can do that.
All right. So after king f2, well, here is where Lombardo takes the pawn on c3 with the pawn. B takes c3. Okay, and Ridvan just takes back with the pawn. B takes c3. Now Lombardo pushes the pawn to f4, attacking the rook. Okay, so what does Ridvan do now?
Easy move for him. Rook to h3.
Wait a minute, hold it. After rook h3, there's no way that queen cannot escape.
The queen can't escape.
So because the queen is now trapped, he resigned.
He resigned. He's already down a bishop.
He's already down a bishop. Yeah, all right.
He's going to lose the queen.
Right. He's down a full bishop here. He's going to lose the queen. This game is over. ChessChat fan, this is one of the exciting games from the 88th Mass Open, making Ridvan Sakir our new Masters State champion. We hope you stay tuned for our next edition of ChessChat. We'll present another exciting game for you, our trusted viewers. Stay tuned.